You hear all of these people talking about building a business or creating content while working a full-time job. It sounds exciting, but every time you try to work after work, you notice that you can't. By the time that you realize it, your day has already passed because you spent your time after work watching Netflix or doing something else. You were distracted, and so you notice that it's time to go to bed. You feel some sort of regret for the fact that you didn't do the thing that you were supposed to be doing after you got home from work. You've wasted another day, and by the time that you wake up the next morning, you're motivated, energized to make it happen because you're pissed off that you didn't take that action that you wanted to take. But once you get home, the same cycle repeats over and over again. It's tough, and I know what it's like. I'm 28 right now, and in the last 8 years of working full-time, I've struggled a lot with quitting to waste my time after my working hours. So in this video, I want to share with you the 5 things I've been doing in the last 3 years that helped me to stop wasting my time after work. This allowed me to build up the YouTube channel that you're watching me on right now, and to also generate a total revenue of $18,000 from side hustles while working 40 hours a week. So with everything said, let's get into the very first point I want to discuss, and that is that I had to set a goal and know why it mattered. Me being the person that I am, I thought that I could wing everything. I thought that I never had to set any goals. I thought that I could just do it and it would happen magically. I was wrong. I was very wrong about that, because what would happen when I would get home after work? Although I had the desire to work on building a business or work on creating content, I would become distracted and not inspired, but I would become persuaded by the desires that I had to do something else besides doing the work, telling myself I can do it later, telling myself that I can do it in the weekend. And by the time that the weekend came, I would tell myself, fuck it, I already wasted my time. Let's do it the next weekend, or let's do it next Monday. It's always the next day. But what happened the moment that I set a goal and knew why it mattered? I knew what I had to accomplish. That's first and foremost. And I know what kind of benefits I would gain out of it from doing it. And to fully explain it properly, I couldn't bother because I wasn't properly reminded of the things that I needed to do. So I did an exercise that I've learned from this book called The Compound Effect. And I made a little bit of my own thing out of it. The first thing that I did was I wrote down my goal. I asked myself, why does it matter for me to even accomplish this goal in the first place? Like, what will I even gain out of it? What is the benefit that it will give me in the future? The third thing that I did was to meticulously map out the actions that I needed to take in order to get me closer to the goal that I wanted to accomplish. And the fourth question that I asked in this exercise is, what are the consequences of me failing to take action on accomplishing this goal? The last one is the most impactful one, because now every time that I got home from work and I asked myself the question, what are the consequences of me failing to take action on the thing that gets me closer to my goal? I noticed that one of those consequences is that I will never be able to do this full time, that I will never probably release my very first video, that will never make my first dollar online or through business or any kind of side hustle that I want to have. Thus, I will be stuck in the same pattern. I will experience regret. I will not become the man that I aspire to be. Thus, I will fail my family, specifically my future family, because I will not be able to raise the kind of children that I want to raise and put on this earth that actually work on leaving a purposeful impact behind as well. And so, doing this exercise is a fundamental pillar for me to remind myself continuously of what the consequences are of me not doing the work after work. It's kind of rough. It's not such a sexy answer, but this is this is what helped me in the beginning. This is the fundamental pillar to everything. And I have a free cheat sheet that you can use in order to do this exercise yourself by going to the first link in the description box and clicking it and joining my community. You will get access to the cheat sheet to set your own goal and address your why. Cool. That will get us to the second point. The second thing that helped me, and that was to detach from negative thoughts, emotions, and desires. One of the biggest problems that I had after setting my goals, after not goals, but setting my goal and addressing my why, is that right before doing the work, I would feel these negative emotions that I'm not good enough to do it. I don't have the skills yet. I'd have these thoughts that would tell me to go do something else because you need to rest. And I would have these other desires of, hey, let's go train, let's go outside, let's go on a date. The problem is that these thoughts and emotions, they don't serve me in accomplishing the goal that I want to accomplish. And just because I'm feeling them doesn't mean that they should dictate the action that I'm going to take after feeling them in a negative way. If I had set the goal to work on creating content or to work on my business after work, that is what I should do, regardless of whatever kind of thought or whatever kind of emotion that I feel. There's an exercise that I've been doing for the last 3 years consistently that allows me to stay in check with this, and that is to mindfulness meditate, and specifically to use the labeling method that is taught within mindfulness meditation. I'm naturally a person who is affected by his emotions. I'm naturally a person who is all over the place. I would get one idea and would become distracted by another idea while I'm taking action on the first idea that I was taking. And by the time that I am close to finishing the second idea, a third idea comes in and I start working on that. And I'd have 3 unfinished ideas, be completely drained, made no progress, and then have the desire to not get back, have the thoughts that I'm not good enough to be doing this, while it could have been perfectly avoided if I had just not decided to act on what was happening in that moment that was going to take me away from doing the main thing that I was supposed to be doing, which was the task. And so I use an app called the Medito app, which allows me to practice mindfulness meditation, where I ground myself in the present moment and I anchor myself with my breath. And as I'm taking notice of the breath that goes in through my nose and out through my nose and how it expands my lungs and my stomach, some thoughts and ideas start popping up into my head. And I label them as thoughts, and I label them as an idea, and I then move on to back again, anchor me to the breath that I'm taking in that moment, to feel those sensations again. And so I'm implementing this right now while working, and also when I was preparing the script and preparing everything for this video. Because with everything that I'm doing, I'm noticing that I have a desire to go do something else. For example, the negative emotions that I'm experiencing right now is that I feel like I'm not qualified enough to be talking about this, is that I feel that I'm rambling, that I feel that I shouldn't be recording this video because it would not be valuable enough. But I know that this will get me closer to accomplishing my goal because I will get experience, I will become better at it. I know that I'm not going to be perfect right from the get-go, but this is what is necessary from my part to make sure that I get closer to my goal. And thus, when I have those thoughts and emotions, they don't define me in the present moment, and they don't necessarily mean that I should take action on it. So I label them as a thought, I label them as an emotion, and I get back to staying focused on the task that I'm doing right now. Mindfulness meditation helps me with doing that. And also, the work actually starts, by the way, this is a bonus mindset for this module. The work actually starts after we lose the initial motivation, after we lose a specific desire for taking action on the work, when we feel bad, when we feel sad, when we feel like we are not good enough. That is where most people give up. And if I persevere through this, I am already a couple of steps ahead of those who tried to do it but failed. And I'm not comparing myself to anyone else because the challenge is within myself, but it's always good to look at other people and see where they are failing, analyzing what they are doing that is not getting them closer to the goal, and doing the opposite of that. So cool. That brings us to the third point, and that is to pick one thing to focus on, which is something that I didn't do for so many years. I tried to combine so many different desires that I had, so many different goals that I had to getting closer to where I wanted to go. And so I had the goal of getting in shape. I had the goal of training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I had the goal of becoming a musician. I had the goal of building a business. I had the goal of did I say training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I had the goal of dating, getting into a relationship with someone and going out and having fun, meeting my friends, all of these desires. All of these goals to have a good and fun life, they all led to the same thing. But the problem with doing this is that the moment I have more than one goal, I noticed that I would be capped out first and foremost on all the things that I want to do, because there's only a limited amount of time and energy that I have after my job that allows me to make significant progress. And if I would then plan my day trying to cram all of those things in, at the end of the day, nothing interesting would have happened. Same thing with watching the Netflix shows. I would watch them because I felt like I needed some rest and needed some relaxation. And when I did watch them, which mainly was out of comfort because I thought that I wasn't good enough, and so I was giving into the negative thoughts, emotions, and desires that I had, which distracted me from doing the main task, I noticed over time that I wasn't booking the progress that I wanted to book. And so the exercise that I did in order for me to ground myself in the moment and to focus on simply one thing that I'm going to commit to for a long time is by first writing down all the goals that you have. And in my case, all the goals and desires that I had, the ones that I mentioned, I asked myself the question, what's the goal that will bring the biggest change in my life if I commit to it fully? And once I knew what that answer was, I scrapped out all of the other goals that I had on paper. And I highly suggest to do it on paper, because this way you can scrap it out and really put in that passion and aggression into it. And then I would build my day around of that. So I would grab my calendar. I'd like to use Google Calendar, and I would block in the times that I would do the work. And I would simply focus on one thing. And I've been doing this now for the last 3 years, a little bit better than before, because in the beginning, I still had a lot of desires. But in the last year of me actually committing to this, I've made a significant amount of progress in building my YouTube channel. I've made a significant amount of progress in generating revenue and building the online business that I want to have, which is more of a coaching done with you and done for you service, than I did any time before when I tried to combine even fitness, training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, dating, and I'm a married man, and sometimes, I don't often go out on dates with my wife because that's the decision that I had made to fully focus on the business, and I keep the other things at a maintained level. But it helped me move the needle forward and stop wasting the time after work. Cool. We're gonna come on to the fourth point, which is actually one of my favorite ones, and that is to prepare in the evening. And so if I don't prepare in the evening, what I noticed that I would come home from work and I would not know what to do. I kind of know the actions that I gotta take, but since I'm already drained from work, having to put more time into thinking in what task I am going to do and planning it out. First, I'm wasting time. Two, I'm wasting energy. All that energy that I'm put into thinking about what I'm going to do could be spent invested into taking action while preparing it beforehand. And so as I lose brain energy, I make less progress, become more drained, and at the end of the day, I feel kind of bad that I didn't move the needle as much forward as I wanted to. And so the solution that I have for this is, when I'm finished with all the tasks that I'm supposed to be doing within the certain time frame that I have, which is usually from 5:30 till 8:30, so about 3 hours, because I like to go to bed by 9:30. I look at my day, I see what I got done, write down all the efforts, and I ask myself, what's the next task that I can do tomorrow? I write down max 3, so 1 to 3 tasks that I can do in order to be as, in order to have it as simplified as possible, to not get overwhelmed, and to make sure, because the problem with being overwhelmed is the moment I'm overwhelmed, I don't want to do all the other tasks, and I'd rather like indulge in some comfort instead of putting in the work. If I'm already anticipating on something big that I'm going to do, and it's 3 big things that I'm going to do, I just know that it's going to be very tough, and I'd have more negative thoughts in my mind. And so I want to reduce that to a minimum in order to maximize the amount of results that I will have within one day, which eventually then compounds into bigger results long term. And so that gets us to the 4th point, which is more so a mindset related topic, and that is to quit making excuses. And what do I exactly mean with this? Is that I was always and still hear my mind making excuses to why I shouldn't put in the work after work. After you've had a tiresome day, depending on what kind of company you work in, what kind of 9-to-5 job you have. If you're working with people, people are draining. If you're having to solve issues, if you're having to solve problems, create solutions for whatever is happening, it can be taxing. And I would experience resistance, where my mind is telling me right before doing the work, you shouldn't do it because you're tired, go relax. You shouldn't be doing it because you didn't sleep well. You shouldn't be doing it because your competitors are better than you. There are other people who put in less effort than you, and they are further ahead than you. In my case, you don't know how to speak properly. That's a thing that starts popping up into my mind. You need to eat first. You need to relax. You can only work effectively in the morning. So don't even bother putting in the work after work. So let's do it tomorrow. Let's wake up earlier tomorrow. But I don't. And it doesn't happen. Because it's an excuse that my mind is giving me. And this is actually resistance. Resistance is that voice in your head that tells you to not do something when you know that you should be doing something. And why do I have this as the last thing? Because everything else we've done before, everything else that I've discussed, the setting a goal and knowing why it matters, detaching from negative thoughts, emotions, and desires, to pick one thing to focus on and to prepare it in the evening, is to minimize the amount of resistance that will be experienced the moment that I have to take action on the task that I have to do, which I have prepared in the evening, that gets me closer to accomplishing the goal that I want to accomplish. And no, because I didn't know this for a long time, it is an excuse. And over time, I knew that it was an excuse, but it made me feel comfortable, but it doesn't help me. And it's tough, it's not easy. And the best way that I can do it, whenever those thoughts arise, whenever resistance arise, although it may sound right, I'd like to prove to myself that it's wrong. And I'd like to prove myself wrong, that I can do it, regardless of whatever thought is popping up into my mind. Oh, I can't speak well? Okay, I'm going to do it even when I can't speak well. Oh, I'm hungry? I'm going to put in the work even when I'm hungry. Oh, I didn't sleep well? Okay, I'm going to make sure that I put in some quality work after not sleeping well. I detach from all of those things and prove myself wrong. So that's pretty much this entire video. I want to thank you for watching it. And always remember that you are, voice crack. You are 100% responsible for the results in your life. Make the hard decision today, and I'll see you in the next one. All right? Bye-bye.